Okay guys, you're right on time for the tour. We're going to be taking you around London for a glimpse into the Victorian era.
So, the Victorian era was characterized by a class-based society, growing individual rights, an economic boom, industrial innovation, and the rise of Britain as the world's leading empire. Let's go!
So we are standing in the cast courts in the Victorian Art Museum. And the cast courts are essentially a living and breathing encyclopedia of different kinds of architecture and design and artwork. And the whole purpose of them is basically the embodiment of the mission of this museum, and that is to make the world feel smaller and to bring the world to the people of the Victorian era. So at the time, these people had limitations for travel or limitations on wealth, and by bringing the world to their feet, they were able to inspire greater works in the country of Britain and beyond.
Okay, so we're in the fashion area of the Victorian Museum, and this is kind of a wedding design, a dress, and a veil that a woman would have worn at the time. It was embroidered, a lot more expensive, so they would try and reuse them. Women at the time were wearing a lot of color, and it was pretty elaborate, puffy sleeves. Men were wearing darker, colder colors for their waistcoats, and it was typically more plain in the fashion that they were wearing.
The British Empire was at its peak during the Victorian era. Clipper ships like the Cutty Sark, built in 1869, are a good representation of the technological advancements of trade by sea. The Cutty Sark could hold up to 10,000 chests of tea, and we all know how important tea is to the Brits.
Okay, so we're now standing in the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich. So the British slave trade between 1640 and 1807 transported more than 3.4 million Africans in the transatlantic slave trade. At the very beginning of the Victorian era, pioneered by men like William Wilberforce, the Slavery Abolition Act was passed in 1833 and enacted in 1834, freeing over 800,000 slaves from the British colonies.
We're in an area of the Victorian Museum which talks about the Gothic revival style. This boom of this style started in the 19th century, and it was very prevalent in music, sculptures, paintings, and especially architecture. So we still see it in buildings and especially churches around London, but it was also very prevalent in houses. And so these are some pieces that would have been in some of the Gothic revival churches at the time.
What you see behind me is the Tower Bridge. The Tower Bridge is a gateway to the Tower of London, which was opened to the public by Queen Victoria. The Tower Bridge is designed with a Victorian Gothic style and was officially opened in 1894 by the Prince of Wales on behalf of Queen Victoria. You can find the Tower Bridge on the Thames, parallel to the London Bridge.
Traditionally, the River Thames had been used to dump all of London's waste, but during the Victorian era, the smell of the waste and the industrial byproducts became unbearable. So Parliament accepted a proposal to build a new sewage system consisting of pumping stations and embankments like the one that we're standing on right now. And after this was built, this prevented waste from being pumped into the Thames, and it also decreased the spread of waterborne illnesses.
So the 19th century saw a huge shift in British art. The previous years show more pomp and grand depictions in art. The new theme was captivating emotional feelings, and one of the greatest artists of the time was Joseph Turner. And he was part of the Romantics, so it was a group of writers, poets, artists, and they all kind of band together to rebel against the Enlightenment movement and to create more of that emotional feeling through art.
During the Victorian era, the Irish potato famine was also occurring. Between 1848 and 1852, millions of Irish people immigrated to England. This led to an influx in skilled tradesmen, but also an increase in racial tensions. In 1856, the Dublin Castle Pub was founded in Camden Town to cater to the Irish immigrants that were now in London. Originally, it started playing Irish jigs and folk music, but now it is a prominent concert venue.
Victoria's sponge cake was unsurprisingly named after Queen Victoria herself, who ate a slice of sponge cake every day with her afternoon tea. A traditional Victorian sponge cake has raspberry jam and whipped double cream or vanilla cream in between two vanilla sponge cakes. This British cake is still enjoyed by locals today.
Mmm.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.
Greetings, loved ones.